Bam! What's going on, folks? MC is in the house. My name is Justin Garcia, also known as Master Chim, and welcome to the Warrior Stream. I'm here every week, Wednesday, noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm in Pennsylvania, originally from New York, but I'm in PA at the moment, but still Eastern Standard Time. Here every Wednesday at noon. Feel free to join me. All relevant links are in the description. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We're broadcasting on a couple of different platforms, or a few platforms right now. I have a couple of Facebook pages. We have, let me click the live on Instagram. All right, so it should be good there. And YouTube. Most of the people that watch me, going by my metrics, are actually on Facebook. But if I'm not here, on Facebook, you could always go to YouTube, and I'm probably there. All right, so what is going on? Let's see who's here right now. Jesse, what's up, brother? Jamie, my man in Canada. Two on Tom. What's up, brother, man? Good to see you. Corey, what's going on? All right. If you guys could see me on Instagram, do me a favor and just comment. I'm always trying to figure out the updates they're making to these things and getting confused in the process. John Wiley, what's up, brother, man? Good to see you. All right, but let's get into it today. I'll worry about the logistics later on. So obviously the topic of today, if you guys saw today's email, I'm talking about the clowns of social media. And one of the things that I put in that email is just the acknowledgement. And I really think to some extent I'm preaching to the choir here, those of you guys that are following me. But the architects of social media, I don't think it's worth getting angry at anybody. I don't think it's worth getting frustrated, angry, resentful. The whole, it shouldn't be like this because it's just not productive. Because ultimately, once you're done with whatever that cathartic process is for you, you got to do something, right? And getting into actually doing things is what I'm an advocate for. I don't really have a lot of patience for people who just want to complain about shit. All right. So, Jan Saxa, good to see you. All right. So I got a couple of things prepared today. And the idea of this list that I had prepared, it's 9 things. And the idea of it is, how do I represent myself authentically on social media without getting into this sort of rut of somehow I'm more valuable if more people like me. And if more people like me, I will love myself a little bit more. Or I will feel I am somehow a moral good person if more strangers approve of my posts on social media. When said out loud, I think a fairly logical person will agree with me that doesn't make any fucking sense, right? This idea of somehow my worth as an individual improves the more strangers press a button in reaction to whatever I post on a social media platform. So I think the idea of it is, if we had a little bit more of a framework when sort of conducting ourselves online, if we had something external to us that maybe we could revisit, and I'm going to present this list as such an offering, but if we had something that was outside of our mood, we could hold ourselves a little bit more accountable. So the list that I'm going to go over, it's really, in business, it would be a branding framework. It would be, how do I make sure that who I'm conveying myself to be is who I am and who other people are going to see value in. On a personal non-business application, it's how to not turn into a fucking clown. It's how to not be the person who is, setting your kid up with like scaring the shit out of your kid so people will laugh when they see your kid become traumatized in real time, or the person who jumps off of a roof because he thinks it'll be hilarious as he breaks his fucking spine, and all these other clownish fucking acts that everybody is being trained to follow. Now, I will add a caveat to this. Most people on social media are beyond help. They're certainly beyond my help, because at some point, I'm just going to not give a shit about these people because there's too many of them. So that's not who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to the person who just recently, somebody who I've known my whole life, the picture perfect, like just fake family, like the fucking Brady Bunch on social media, just found out they're getting divorced. The kid's in fucking therapy. Another kid suddenly likes the smell of fucking glue or something. Their whole life is falling apart, but not according to their social media posts. So it's just this facade that at the end of the day, it didn't even add any real world value to them, right? Now, they're always going to be the sort of Kardashian-esque, sort of just slow motion car accidents that people want to watch. And those people are going to benefit from otherwise, just boring lived individuals who have nothing going on. They're always going to want to watch those people. They're like the whole reality TV. I mean, everybody knows it stopped being realistic a long time ago, but the idea, the concept of people being entertained by these reality TV shows, it's not going away, right? What that does is it feeds off of, preys off of just human psychology and the human condition. People are going to want to know what's going on. They're nosy, pattern-seeking creatures. Compound that with the fact that most people aren't happy with their lives. They're going to be all too willing to look at other people's lives, even if they're watching other people's lives fall apart. If the lives are falling apart, they get to look at it and go, hey, at least that's not me. If the lives are going great, they try to live vicariously through them, right? Cue grown men with fucking sports jerseys. I could go on a tirade for that, but it's not productive. Let's get back to this list. All right. So, Big Todd, what's up, brother, man? Tuhan Tom says, don't ever get caught complaining, even to yourself. Right on, brother. You know how it is. Sometimes, guys like Tuhan Tom, myself, I would want to include in this category, various friends of ours, people that I know and respect. We just have a certain level of standard whereby even if we want to complain, we don't dare act like it's the thing to do. You don't want to be somebody that's always expressing to other people this sort of passive aggressive request for help. If you need help, ask for it. If you're going to complain to somebody else, it's sort of like being weak enough to need help. And listen, we all need help at certain points, but in that particular instance, I mean, it is what it is, fucking math. If being weak enough to need help, but then not even being strong enough to ask for it, complaining out loud to other people, that's what that is to me, right? Corey, what's going on? I already said what's up to you, Corey, but Corey says, sorry, Corey. He says some people take that walk off the roof. That's a completely different application of the concept, Corey. But I hear you. So let's get to this list, right? So now this list is, okay, how are we building a brand? How are we conducting ourselves ethically, authentically, consistently online so that we don't wind up succumbing to the temptation to become a clown for the masses, like every single architect of the social media world wants us to become. All right. So number one, I've been saying it over and over again, authenticity. If you have to pretend to be somebody online, there is going to be a confusion that grows in your relationship with yourself, what I would call the self-alliance in the book TRIBALNOMICS. There is going to be an ambiguity that's going to create a confusion that is going to decrease your ability to present yourself consistently. If you have a relationship with somebody and you portray yourself to be a certain individual, and then at some point, maybe it's state induced, maybe something happens and a little bit of pressure, right? Everybody went fucking crazy over COVID, but something happens and you conduct yourself in a different way, in a way that the person who is an ally to you didn't think you were capable of conducting yourself or didn't know that that was a part of who you were. What they're going to do is they're going to sort of back up the depth of that commitment to that alliance. You will find close friends distancing themselves from you the more you portray yourself to be different people. Because if you're one guy on Monday, another guy on Tuesday, exactly who is it that these people are building an alliance with, right? And online, because the consequence is not as direct as it is in the real world, sometimes we can lose sight of that. So if you're somebody like me, yeah, sometimes being authentic, get your shadow banned, demonetized, and all that other stuff, I'm working it out, no excuses, not even complaining. But if you're somebody who is just looking to participate in some sort of networking potential or business potential that social media provides, I would argue that being authentic is something that you absolutely have to sort of follow. The second thing, consistency. If you are going to leverage social media in any sort of branding, meaning you want a group of people, if this is a business application, this would be your market. If you want to establish yourself as somebody that can be relied on, trusted, you have to continue to put yourself out there. If you're somebody, I remember years ago, and it was a pretty valuable statement. It was a teenager that trained in my academy, and he was talking about Instagram. And I had asked, or somebody had asked him if he followed somebody or whatever. And his comment, and this was like a 16, 17-year-old kid, he said, no, if this guy posts once a week, I don't even fucking follow him. I only follow guys that post regularly, so I see what's going on. And it was a valuable, real world observation of somebody who just, teenager who participates in social media, what he was looking for. And I would say that along with being authentic, being consistent, showing up consistently, is also something that will benefit you when trying to establish these relationships with the people you're trying to connect to. The third one, I wrote these things down before, there's 9. The third one, position yourself as somebody who could be trusted and relied upon in certain topics, in certain ways. It's positioning yourself as an expert. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book on tribe. The information that was in Tribalnomics was so known to me, and I was so comfortable with that information. I wrote the book in 9 days. It was pouring out because it was something that I was using on a regular basis in my coaching program. For me, to position myself as an expert when it comes to tribal dynamics is a very natural thing, having run a school for over 20 years, coaching program for 10 years plus, etc. But if I am conveying myself, to the market in a way that is inconsistent where that's concerned, and sometimes people, they have this battle of, am I being a narcissist if everything that I do doesn't reek of humility? And I would argue there's a certain point where, you have an obligation to help people. And if you're standing up and sort of representing yourself at the level of and qualification that you are, then helping people is what you're doing. Right? I'm called Master Chim in my school. Where did I get the master title? I mean, I've said this many times, but in case anybody's confused, one day I gave it to myself. That's how that works. I decided to give myself a title that put me at the top of the mountain in my tribe because I wanted, number one, to show people where they should be moving toward, but I also wanted to hold myself accountable for being the expert where, the buck stopped with me. And that could be, hey, the power's not working. It could be somebody comes in and challenges me to a challenge match. It could be, somebody has a life issue that really needs help. I'm the guy, right? And part of being accountable for that in that tribe is I have positioned myself as the guy, right? So if there is something that you could offer to a market, to a group, whatever, that is valuable to them, then I would say it's to some extent a moral, standard that we raise our hands. It's you're in a busy place. Somebody seems to be having a heart attack, and you're a doctor, and is there a doctor in the house? And you're like, fuck that, I came here to enjoy my meal. That's a problem. So positioning yourself as an expert, when we understand that we do have things that are of value. Now, if you can identify what you do that is valuable, maybe it's valuable, coming to that realization. Maybe you could become valuable in portraying yourself as the guy that doesn't see himself as valuable as in anything yet. And you can connect with people while you endeavor to become valuable, right? But whatever it is, if you are trying to establish yourself as a source of value for other people, the way we do that is positioning yourself as an expert, somebody who's been there, done that, who knows how to do it and knows how to get somebody else there. And the positioning reflects that, right? And when we're participating on social media. So the next thing, unique voice, right? There's something to be said for, and if you look at Dan Kennedy's USP, and it's basically, it stands for unique selling proposition, and it is the identity of your offer to the market, right? It's unique in that it cannot be commoditized or just thrown in a box with other similar offers. It's selling, in this USP, because we are conveying, I am going to offer this, you're going to invest in it, and that's the way we both win. And proposition is that it's designed in a way that it could actually be presented to somebody as a proposal, right? In so many words. So the USP is the identity that we establish with our value when presenting it to the market, and making sure that we're unique prevents us, like I said before, from being considered just another one of those guys. Now, people have been trying to throw me in those boxes forever. And, if you guys have been following me for any length of time, sometimes it got a little wacky where, what people were trying to label me as. But who am I? I'm to the market, I'm a guy that, if you're an entrepreneur, I help you make more money in your business. To my children, I'm their dad. To my wife, I'm her husband. To my mother, I'm her son. My brother, I'm brother. Like, that's the way that works. But I'm very unique in every application of those titles, of those roles, by design, right? And sometimes, in order to be unique, a lot of the things that we've been talking about up until now build yourself up to the point where you cannot be commoditized and just, labeled another one of them, right? So the next thing, being visible, there's something to be said for, like, I want to help people. I do not like going and meeting new people, though, right? So it's a little bit of a paradoxical issue I have, where I really want to help people, but I sort of want them to be qualified, because what I don't enjoy is basically wasting time with individuals who aren't squared away to a certain point. And I just wind up coming off as sort of like a heat that melts them as soon as we come into contact with one another. So for me, I have to ask myself, well, okay, if you're not going to go to the parties and host the big events, I remember, like, twice a year I host PressureCon and I host the Winter Install. It's my two annual events, one in the summer, one in the winter. And there was a point where I would market the hell out of it and get I'd have 50, 60 people at these things, and it was much bigger. As the time went on, the logistical burden and just the aggravation of running some of these events at certain sizes, because I'm basically doing it myself, it just got to the point where it's like, I don't care about the money I'm making by having all those extra people there. The vibe of the event was just not what I wanted to do. So I stopped marketing it as much. I still made it available to the people that wanted to go there. We have smaller, more functional groups. It's a great opportunity to network, to generate content. A lot of the talks that I put out on social media are recorded during those events. So I make it a win-win. But I understand, if I'm going to continue to put myself out there and help people that need my help, I need to be visible, right? One of the main reasons I do this live show every week is because I need to be present. I need to be putting stuff out there. And I put myself on the hook for doing this live show because it guarantees on my YouTube channel, I have at least a post a week, right? If I could always do more during the week, but at least a post a week is getting done. And I also, if you guys follow my other social media platforms, Instagram and whatnot, I also take a lot of these talks and I chop them up into these sort of consumable little chunks that introduces people a lot of times for the first time to me and my message. So again, it's being visible. Number 6, value-driven content. Now, there's something to be said for everybody wants to express themselves. Everybody wants to be cathartic. Sometimes people use social media, and it is absolutely their right to just do what they want. And I'm going to be weird. I'm going to put a vibe out. I'm going to share some stuff that maybe nobody's interested in. And every once in a while, those things become incredibly viral. Everybody connects with it. An example of that is Sam Sulik, the bodybuilder. Young guy, college kid, bodybuilder, super authentic, post, I think 30, 40-minute video a day, does nothing that every single social media expert says you have to do, right? Now, sure, it helps that he looks like a fucking pro bodybuilder and he is authentic almost to a fault, right? But it's sort of the sweet spot of he's just awkward enough that he comes off as being incredibly authentic, and he's entertaining to watch. He's somebody that just started putting up stuff. I guarantee he did not have a master plan to amass millions of followers in the time that he's been on YouTube and whatnot. But that's exactly what he did. Every once in a while, lightning strikes, right? And he's a perfect example of a format that doesn't always work for people. But that format, if it helps you enjoy who you are and build a better relationship, then by all means do that. But if you're somebody who is actually going to, by design, try and drive a following that produces some sort of an outcome, you got to know what you stand for. You got to know what you represent. I've said before, if you're going to help somebody, they have a problem. You want to present yourself as the solution. And when we're generating content that connects us with who we see ourselves as being the solution to and for, that is where we start being consistent. That is when the alliances we're building through social media actually start transcending social media and generate value in the real world, where it actually matters, right? Let's see what's going on with these comments. Cherrytown Vibe, what's up, brother man? Good to see you. 2 on Tom. It's not Mr. Jim, one of my favorites. I've never said that before in my life. At least once a day. My kids are kind of sick of it. Aaron, what's up, Dawn? She says, wouldn't want to show off. I bet you the guy that's dying would have appreciated. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of those things where, people sometimes that humility, and it's an authentic humility, they have to understand the limitation of it. It's like, you're the guy. I appreciate singing, right? Somebody who has an incredible singing voice, like I have a great appreciation for that. And when people sing, it's a state changer for me. When somebody has a good voice, when they have terrible voices, it doesn't work, right? The effort is not valued at all by me, right? You actually have to be able to sing half worth of shit. But I've always had an appreciation. If I'm like, especially growing up in New York City, you're on the subway, what have you, you're down in Manhattan, and there's somebody on a street corner or somebody in a subway car, subway station, and they're singing and they have an incredible voice. I'm always one of the guys that just sits there and watches and appreciates it. And you don't know, like that being an example of somebody having a gift and therefore an ability to connect with people in a certain way. You don't know what you're doing for people when you do those things, when you're putting yourself out there to connect. And I would argue that, listen, you do what you want, but you are absolutely, ignoring opportunities. And every time we're not grateful for something, we're entitled to it. And the opportunities that present themselves when you are talented and you do have value, that you don't take into consideration, you're entitled. And eventually those opportunities will fall by the wayside. And whether you even care about that or not, the relationship, the dynamic still exists, right? 2 on Tom writes, you are an expert in helping people who actually dislikes people. This is a little bit of a paradox and kind of productive in a business where you have to interact with people. I absolutely concur. And 2 on Tom is somebody who's known me for a long time at this point. And it is always the game that I play. How do I help these people who, and I think, I've used this example before. It's a limited example. But if you guys have ever seen Beauty and the Beast, it's sort of like the Beast hides away in his castle and he becomes bitter in a lot of ways. But part of it is because of how other people react to him. He has value. And obviously the limitation of the analogy is that there's a girl he falls in love with. But let's just say that there are people that I want to help and there are people that I enjoy helping. But sometimes I am a bit rough around the edges, and bull in a china shop will be an understatement with how I conduct myself sometimes. One of the things, like during the mastermind meetings, the guys that are in my group, we cover, very, very sophisticated and effective business related topics. But I still tell the guys, and sometimes they learn on their own. It's like during these group calls on Zoom, you should probably have headphones in. If you have a wife and children around, like, yeah, I'm not, this isn't the fucking Disney Channel when I'm on. So it is a paradox, absolutely. But it's I'd say at this point, I'm fortunate. It's a paradox I've been dealing with my entire life, and I've developed some good strategies to be able to circumvent them. But a paradox it is. Cherrytown Vibe is doing the stream part of your regimen. Every week it is, right? And he's referencing the Master of the 24-Hour Cycle program. In the trim framework for every single day. Regiment is one of them. And I would say that Cherrytown, for those of you that do not follow the program, Cherrytown Vibe has expressed to me, the value that he's had in it. Here's the plug incoming. If you're watching on Instagram or Facebook, if you just DM me the word balance, I have a bot, right? An MC bot that sends you the program. So if you guys are watching one of those platforms, just DM me the word balance, and the program that Cherrytown Vibes referencing will be sent right to you. Who else is there? Damien. What's up, brother, man? That's my little brother, in case you guys don't know. He's a fucking maniac. What's up, D? Caceres, what's going on, brother, man? Aaron says, I'd rather my daughter hear you than most of the BS Disney is apparently putting out these days. Listen, I can't disagree with you. I cannot disagree with you. And it ain't getting any better, right? I will say that, these things happen in cycles, sort of like the ball bounces on both ends. And I don't think we're at the bottom yet, but it's hard to deny that we're damn close, right? And I'll just leave that there. But let's go on to the next thing. We have 3 more. So number 7, one of the things about social media and the fact that you're putting yourself out there. And again, if this is a business application, this falls under the category of brand building. If it's a non-business application, then this is how do we make this artificial aquarium have some utility in the real world. But number 7 on the list is relationship building. When we have alliances that build off of 2 people connecting because each one sees in the other some value, right? You have one person who needs a new shovel. Enter the shovel salesman. They have a meeting. The shovel salesman has the investment from the person, who needs the shovel. The guy who needs the shovel gets a shovel. So it's win-win. The double thank you occurs, and both people created synergy in that alliance. When we are finding people, following all the steps that I've talked about till this point, what happens is we have the opportunity to actually build alliances that last, alliances that connect beyond just the superficial interaction on social media. They might still be online. There's been plenty of people who have expressed to me how I've changed their lives, either, their personal lives or their businesses and what have you. And I've never met them in the real world. Every interaction we've had has been, on Zoom or on the phone or something like that. So it's not that you can't build authentic connections with people through technology, but just understand there's always a little bit of a limitation if that's what you're reduced to. And spending time, and one of the reasons I have these live events is it is an opportunity for those people that build connections with me online throughout the year can actually come share a meal, sit by the fire, talk about, a bunch of different things that go beyond what the nature of the alliance actually is. But building alliances, having that as being one of the milestones of what you're trying to generate online obviously makes sense and is the thing to do. Number 8, you have to diversify how you connect with people. And doing so not only will allow you to not put all your eggs in one basket, but it will also start reaching and connect with people who you are compatible with, who just might not be participating on the one platform you're at. Now, slightly different application of this concept, because my revenue transcended my jiu-jitsu school and I had online programs. I, sell shirts. I have my book. Don't make a lot of money on the book, but I sell shirts. I do my online coaching, both my mastermind group, my online communities, my one-on-one coaching. I had all these things up and running to varying degrees when COVID hit and New York City shut my business down, like so many people had their businesses shut down. And I couldn't get new income, new business. I had to invest more time and energy to raising up these other programs, but they were there to be invested in, right? And I would say when we're using different types of platforms and different types of media, it allows you to not only put all your eggs in many baskets, but it also allows you to reach people that may just not be participating on the one that you had established first, right? And we got the last one here. And this is something I'm always railing on about. Earlier when Cherrytown Vibe made a reference to master the 24-hour cycle, and he asked if something was part of the regiment. Well, every day I follow something called the TRIM framework, and it's tribe, regiment, improvement, and movement. The I in improvement is where this last one is. The last one is continuous learning and evolution, right? So if you're somebody who, like, think about a doctor, right? You have a doctor who's been a doctor for 40 years, but he has never read another study. And I don't even know if this is illegal. I don't know if doctors are required to do these things, but let's just, it's my fucking hypothetical. I'm the dungeon master. Let's just say this is the case. You have two doctors. One has been in business for 40 years, has never read another piece of, published studies or anything since he graduated and started practicing. Another one's been practicing maybe 5 years, but is up to date on the latest data, the latest this, the latest that. There's a point where we understand that one of these doctors has committed to adapting and evolving, whereas the other one pretty much designed a box to live in, and that's where he's going to reside. I would say that when, as an individual, if you're somebody who thinks you know everything you need to know, what'll happen is you'll become, and I've made a program before called Mind Killers. And one of these biases that I described in this program was the vacuum cleaner, right? And the idea of the vacuum cleaner is the person who doesn't want to grow builds a box around himself. And then he makes sure everything in that box is exactly how he wants it. And then he spends the rest of his life acting like he's never wrong and he's got all the answers because his reality is reduced to this box, right? To this vacuum. What I've found in my experience, when you see individuals who don't want to grow, in order to grow relatively, they don't want to do it themselves, so they actually shrink their lives. And you wind up having men who, in order to be bigger, they start leading smaller and smaller lives because they relatively become bigger fish in smaller ponds. Right. And it's not something that I advocate for. And when you're talking about scaling business, it's certainly not something that's going to allow you to stay relevant in the market. There is a cycle, right, that is involved in how business goes, how the market has a relationship with the things that people are being offered. I made the example before how if you're somebody who 10, 15 years ago had a transcription business whereby somebody could send you an audio and you'll have, some sweatshop somewhere, people listening to the audio and transcribing what's on the thing and then sending back a file. That was big business back in the day. If that was your business, it's done now, right? You're flipping burgers at the local diner because that is nothing but an add-on service now because technology has surpassed its need in order to be able to provide that service for people, right? AI will do that in no time. We could auto-generate captions, in the moment, on some platforms. So if that was your business model and you never adapted, never improved, never invested in yourself, you're dead in the water, right? And I would say in a general sense, as a general position, that is something that everybody should be looking to do. We're always looking, it's use it or lose it. And our minds is certainly something that is connected to that idea. And the more we evolve, the more we adapt. I mean, listen, I'm supposed to be a jiu-jitsu guy, right? How am I teaching people, copywriting and systems improvement? How am I, helping people change? I got one of my guys right here, my man Mike. He's a plumber. How am I doing anything to help a plumber? I do not know plumbing, right? I know how to flush the toilet every time. I'm pretty consistent with that skill. But in terms of all these other things, that is not where I'm at. But how is it that I have value that I can help a plumber? Well, it's because I have spent the last 20 some odd years investing in my skill set. And so how I've adapted is I've learned how to provide value beyond those first applications of the value that I had to provide to the market, which was jiu-jitsu. Right before that, I was a personal trainer in the gym. And, those seem like lifetimes ago when that was all I was. But it also makes me excited about, well, who am I going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now? What problems am I going to be able to solve now because of the skill set and the experience that I've accumulated at that point, right? And that's how I look at my life, right? So let me go over this real quickly. Judge Cohen, what's up, brother man? Good to see you. So these are the 9 things to help you build a legitimate brand on social media as a business, or there's value in applying it as an individual. But let's go through the list. Number 1, authenticity. Number 2, consistency. Number 3, positioning yourself as an expert, as an authority. Number 4, being unique. Do not commoditize yourself. Oftentimes this happens because people don't want to be authentic. So they wind up reducing some of the individual unique attributes that they possess. So they wind up being basically dumbing themselves down, and they seem like just another one of X, and people throw you in that box. Number 5, visibility. You have to put yourself out there. I'm not somebody that likes, being in big crowds with big groups of people. And I admit it. However, I make sure that I'm making my posts. I make sure I write my email every day. I make sure that I'm showing up at the events that I host. Kind of awkward if I didn't. But these are the things that I've had to do to make sure that I stay visible. There's still people out there that need my help, and I need to make sure that I'm putting myself out there so I can connect with them. Number 6, value-driven content. If you don't know what your value is, how is it that you're going to reflect that value in the content that you're putting out? So step 1, find out what that value is. If you're using social media just to be cathartic and just put stuff out there that you think is entertaining, you want to swipe and share memes, that is your prerogative. But what I'm talking about is developing a unique value in your identity that other people can see and connect with, right? Which goes to number 7, alliance building. We have to be able to understand, well, what's the end game? Are we just supposed to waste time on social media and nothing ever coming of it? It being a sort of hobby that entertains us but doesn't actually produce anything in the real world. I would say that it's a very poor use of what the opportunities that social media provides. So how do we make sure we are making use of it? We start making connections and alliances that reflect all of the time and effort and energy that we're putting in to generating the content. Number 8, we don't want to just stick to one media. Like you want to be able to, like me, I write my email every day. I do this live show. I do memes. I do shorts. I do just regular local, content and advertising for my school. Like I'm always trying to connect with people through different means. Number 1, it allows me to stay diversified enough that I can withstand losing one of the outlets for those connections, but it also connects me with people that might not be in the preferred or primary platform that I'm producing media for. And number 9, finally, continuing learning, continuing to adapt. The trim framework, you guys, like I said, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, just DM me the word balance and I will send you a link. If you're on another platform watching, which would be YouTube, I think I'm on X too. If you're watching one of those, just DM me on that platform and either I or one of my guys will send it to you just the same. It's not automated, but I'll do that just the same. I'll make good on that. But I'm going to end it there. I went through my agenda, had a good time, good crowd here watching. I appreciate you guys. And as always, brothers and sisters, pressure to power.